move on to some NFL topics. So yeah, this week, Clark, this one thing that people are talking about, it kind of bothering me, and that's Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears have the number one pick because of their trade with Carolina last year. And so it brings up the debate that now I know you hate talking about draft stuff during the season, Clark, but brings up the debate that's going to be going on for the next 4 months. What should the Bears do with the number one pick? Should they move on, draft a quarterback, or should they stick with Justin Fields, try to trade out of the number one pick and get as many assets as they can? And I just I don't like the disingenuous media telling us things that just flat out aren't true. Like they're telling us, "Oh, Justin Fields is playing great." Not really. Last 6 games, he's got eight touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Okay, he Justin Fields threw for 6.8 yards per attempt last year. At 6.8 yards per attempt this year. Like this idea that he's playing great or awesome and is way better is just a complete lie. The same lie that they were telling us about Russell Wilson. So I don't like the disingenuous nature of this. Number one, and number two, I'm like unless you're sure that Justin Fields is like going to be awesome and not just like, oh, kind of good the last 4 games. I'm talking like you think he's going to make multiple Pro Bowls and you think he's, going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league at some point. You've got to draft a quarterback here. Like the other thing is that people don't bring up Justin Fields is going to have to be paid in about a year. Like you're going to have to make a decision. They got to make a decision about his 5th-year option this offseason. And then after next season, you're going to have to pay him. So it's not like, oh, we have this long runway to figure this out. It's like you're going to, if you don't take a quarterback, well, then you're going to be paying him. And why would Justin Fields not ask for Daniel Jones's contract?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. He's going to ask for his contract. So why in God's name would you just put that in front of you when it's obvious? Just take Caleb Williams or whoever you want at the number one pick. And the thing is, Clark, I'm one of those you can have your cake and eat it too, guys. Like they could trade out of the number one pick, draft Jaden Daniels or Michael Penix, and then trade Justin Fields for, a second, third round pick, whatever it is. Like, to me, there's so many options, and the option that I would definitely not do is the Justin Fields thing. But this Chicago thing, Chicago sports radio is going to be telling us how great Justin Fields is, and all of this stuff. So I just think I think this is obvious. I know last year I said the opposite of this, but that's because Bryce Young was going to be the number one pick. Like I'd take my chances on Caleb Williams, who was better than Justin Fields in college. Okay, has a higher ceiling than him, more talented. Like, yeah, I'll take a risk on that guy. Is it a risk? Sure. But I just don't see you getting, this stuff out of Justin Fields that you think you are. And and we've talked about this a million times. Once you pay the quarterback, your whole dynamic changes. So your thoughts?
Yeah. So, it is funny listening to the conversations that the sports media has about quarterbacks and how well quarterbacks are playing, and how often they seem to get this totally wrong. Has Justin Fields been better in the second half of the season than he was in the first half of the season? Sure, he's been better. But what does that mean? Was Russell Wilson better in the second half of the season than he was in the first half of the season? Yeah. But, I mean, what does that really mean? And then, when you actually watch the guys play, it's like, yeah, Justin Fields, he runs around. He makes a few throws here and there. He probably throws too many interceptions. He doesn't throw enough touchdowns. If their defense plays well, so it sounds like Matt Eberflus, the coach of the Broncos, it sounds like he knows what he's doing on defense because their defense over the past 2 years has gotten better. It's pretty good right now. They probably need to draft more players and stuff, but it's pretty good. So he knows what he's doing on that side of the ball. And so how much of this is just the defense is playing better and then they're just maximizing whatever Justin Fields is, And people seem to mistake that for, oh, well, he's really good. It's like, again, people, what do you mean when you say really good? I think that's the thing that's really annoying. It's the same thing and we're perfect to talk about this because we're Dolphins fans and their quarterback is Tua. And, the conversations around him are all over the place. You got people saying he's just, really, really awesome. You got people saying he's terrible. You got people saying he's somewhere in the middle. You got people going, well, we don't know yet if he can really, rise to the level of an elite quarterback. We haven't seen enough, which is like, really? You haven't seen enough yet? So, yeah, in terms of what should the Bears do in the draft, yeah, I mean, you know, the way it feels like defenses maybe have gotten a little bit ahead of offenses. Still there? Okay.
Yep.
Like I cut off for a second. It feels like defenses have gotten a little bit ahead of the offenses. Now, this maybe that's just because we've had a bunch of quarterback injuries, but it feels to me like if you really want to have a chance to one day be a contending team, you need a really elite quarterback, not just some guy who's got some really cool athletic ability. No, like you need a guy who's going to develop into somebody who can put the team on his back at different times and go win the game. And Justin Fields, that's not why the Bears are winning. Okay. And he's been in the league now. This is his third year. He's had a bunch of injuries. So, and you look at the draft, it's like, do you really want to? I understand that Justin Fields is more of a known commodity than these other guys who have not played a snap in the NFL. But a lot of these other guys in the draft, they seem like they're much better than Justin Fields. I mean, you watch Justin Fields play, like he doesn't really read defenses all that well. And in terms of throwing the ball, he's not that accurate. So I don't understand why it is we'd want to go with him rather than these other guys who are clearly way more talented. Now, the thing you mentioned about trading down and drafting a different quarterback than Caleb Williams, okay, like I could kind of see that. But yeah, this is again, like I said, the conversations that people have about quarterbacks feel really uninformed, and they're all sort of, it's a lot of hyperbole, where people like it's the same thing with Tua. Like they're just like, oh, Tua's so awesome, and it's like, yeah, but how come when he plays good teams he plays terrible? Like what? It's like, well, I don't know, but it's like, no. You got to really look at everything that's going on to make a judgment about, how good is this guy, and then moving forward, what should we do? Should we keep this guy or should we get somebody else? Would it surprise me if the Bears kept him? No, I mean, the Bears are terrible with quarterbacks. They've been terrible with quarterbacks forever. They've never had a really good quarterback. So maybe they will just keep him. I think that's probably the wrong move.
Yeah, I think you've got you can't have the number one pick 2 years in a row and not take a quarterback. And the other thing is that you have to pay attention to here is if Caleb Williams goes to another team and is awesome, like you're getting fired. Like if you miss on this pick, and and that's the thing. Like, and I'm not saying that, oh well, this quarterback will be awesome, and I'm not like saying, well, Caleb Williams is going to be great. I don't know that. I'm just saying, like, to me, I'm drafting a quarterback and I'm moving on. I'm taking, because as far as asset management goes, it's really the best thing to do. I know that, and I mean, yeah, trade down, and if you like one of the other quarterbacks, take one of them. I don't really care which one it is, but to me, you've got to take one of them. I just don't see how you can go forward. And this is the problem with quarterbacks in the NFL now, Clark. The value of the quarterback position has become greater than the people playing it. That's the problem. How valuable quarterback is more valuable than Tua or Justin Fields or Kirk Cousins or a lot of these other, Dak Prescott, a lot of these quarterbacks. The value of the position itself, it's just so that you need a good quarterback to do anything in the NFL. And so this is one of the problems with the NFL going, more towards offense and more towards quarterback value, is that if you don't have one, you have no shot. And that's more true now than it ever has been.
Yeah. And then the other thing you got to consider is, I don't know, maybe this changed in recent years, but I think maybe some people talking about the NFL think, well, Justin Fields is not as good as like a top 5 or 6 quarterback, but maybe he's in the top 15. So maybe we can just pay him $35 million a year. No, you can't. That's not how this works anymore. Now I'm not saying that every new quarterback contract has to reset the market, but if Lamar Jackson's getting paid $50 million, then, Tua's going to want, for instance, 45 or probably 47, $48 million. And it's like, oh, well, he's not really worth that much. That's not how this works. Like, I agree with you, but that's not how this works. So if you're going to hold on to Justin Fields, you're going to end up having to pay him a lot of money. Again, you don't have to reset the market, but it's going to be relatively close. You can put some contingencies in there to help you out, but it's still going to significantly hamstring the franchise under the salary cap.
Yeah, I think that's the way that the league works. And most quarterbacks, they don't. And by the way, if you're Chicago, what you're hoping is Justin Fields turns into Lamar Jackson. Like that's what you want. Like that's your ultimate goal. But the problem is you can't wait year after year after year for that to happen. I've never seen a quarterback in the NFL after his third or fourth year where he's been starting the whole time and all of a sudden turning into a Hall of Famer. It just doesn't happen. That's not how quarterback works. If you
Lamar
don't see
Jackson
it,
was an MVP in his second year in the league.
Right. If you don't see it by year 3 or 4, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah. So yeah, I just think it's ridiculous. I think the obvious thing here is to take a quarterback. I was not in favor of taking Bryce Young because that's Bryce Young. But any of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this draft, I would take all of them, and I don't even think it's a question.